I am here in the Santa Cruz Mountains at this campground I went to. I stayed in, you can barely see the peak of over there last time I was here. And the thing I was going to talk about today was water. So water is obviously super important, something we need to survive and live on, and the quality of our water is so important in our all over well-being. And something I've been super fortunate to have been able to experience the last few years is natural spring water. And spring water and well water, they do not have chlorine in it. They don't have, you'd be surprised the amount of toilet paper glue that's in water. And just the energy of the fact that like the water goes into like the toilet, into the plumbing system, to the city water is like recycled, cleansed, and then put back out into the general public for drinking water and cooking water, is like, just the thought of that is kind of astounding. Like in the wild, animals do not go to the bathroom near like their water source or their food sources, and here we are like pooping and peeing in our water, and then it gets like recycled back into the system and back to the houses. And water naturally in nature is running, it's moving through, and that's where we would get our drinking water from, is somewhere that's not standing water, or you know, water that has been pooped or peed in. And so finding water sources that have been from groundwater, spring water, or well water has been so big, because I notice a huge difference in my digestion when I'm not drinking water that has chlorine in it and all these other toxins and things. And so as much as possible, I've been trying to find places with spring water. And while I was here camping last time and I was looking for places, when I saw that there was spring water here, I was like, oh my gosh. So I actually am in Santa Cruz, and I was at another place that I was staying at a yurt actually, and I found out that I was like, oh, let me contact the camp host here and see if I can come and just fill up my water where their spring water is hooked up to. And the laundry machine is here too, that's going right now. So I'm gonna grab this water off of here. So I have a bunch of different containers that I brought to fill up here. And I'm here about 2 months ago and ran out of the spring water that I collected here about like 3 weeks ago, and I noticed a change in my GI tract again and in my digestion, and it was becoming more sensitive to things, getting more irritated easily. And so I'm trying as like much as possible to get the spring water in my gut, in my body. And I was living in Tahoe on a property for over a year that had spring water right there on the property. I had 2 different springs, and while I was living there, I was out in nature a lot, so I was getting the negative ions of the earth around me and being super immersed in the trees and the water and getting that refresh and that connection with the earth. But I was also drinking the spring water, and it was interesting because even when I chose to eat like crappier foods, like processed foods, I was noticing that I was able to tolerate it more. And I've noticed that since I've been back in the city that I have had a harder time with like with the drinking the chlorine water, so much so that when I first started drinking chlorine again, I was having like a really strong reaction to the smell of it in the water, just like how potent it was. And it was like really affecting me, and I felt like I was like drinking poison, and I could almost like taste it like throughout the day. So it was like a big shift that I noticed in my gut and just how my body felt. And when I do breath work and Kundalini yoga practices, I could actually taste like the chlorine coming out. So in doing certain breath work, you actually like are detoxing. So our breath is our biggest detoxification process in the body. So when we have too much of something in the body, it comes out through the breath as well as through like our urine and our waste and our sweat. dead skin cells, but it comes out most often through our breath, because we're breathing day in, day in and day out all the time. So here, I'll fill this up and then I'll finish what I was saying. Another thing is, I believe it's 90% of the spring water that's sold in stores is actually not necessarily spring water. It can be city water that they're calling spring water. There's a lot of stipulations around it. Most of it, 90% of it, has chlorine in it. And so it's, though it feels like it's something more natural and better for you, it's not even purified if it's spring water. So depending on the source that they're getting it from, it could be trash water. So the whole water industry is insane. There's like a documentary on YouTube about water. I can't remember what it's called, but like just like this whole thing about the scarcity around water and everything like that, and the whole system around it. So it's just something to look into if you're interested. But bottom line, for the purpose of this video, is that that I have personally noticed like a huge difference when I get the chance to consistently drink water that doesn't have chlorine in it. I mean, chlorine is killing your gut flora. It's killing the good like bacteria in the gut, the probiotics that are naturally there, making you more susceptible to candida, to yeast, to viral infections and leaky gut, where food allergies come from. So one of those sources of food allergies. So it's been like a big thing for me to try to find spring water. And there are, I can't remember, there's like an app online. I haven't really used it, but I know some friends who've used it, that like you can find spring water around you, but you can Google places that have spring water. Like I found that private properties are like a way to get spring water. So like in this case, this was like a hip camp thing that I went on and just happened to see that they had natural spring water here on the property. So I was like, yes, I'm in. And so there's different avenues, talking to people, just like kind of keeping your ear open. If you hear that there's somewhere, there is like a place that's about, that I was living in briefly, that's about 2 hours from here, that you can pull up on the side of the road and fill up spring water there. It's free. They have like 3 spigots, and so that's like about like a 2.5 hour drive from where I'm living right now. So it's not like super convenient to go there. But if I have like enough containers and I don't have like another source, then that's a good place. This place right here is about like an 1.5 hours away from where I live, so it's a little bit closer. And I also get to go to the beach when I'm here, so it's wonderful. But also, if you have a source of well water that doesn't have chlorine in it, that's awesome as well. You can talk to people and just ask them questions about the water sources, if they know like minerals that are in it. There's a place that is in the town I live in, about like an hour south. I don't know why it's still the town I live in. It's like way out in like the hills somewhere, but it's very, very high in magnesium. I think my friend was saying that it's like the highest magnesium spring in the United States. And I do not do well with magnesium. I'm magnesium sensitive. I used to be extremely magnesium sensitive when I was going through all my chronic experiences, where my joints would start to pop out of place and get super loose because it would relax the muscles so much that my tendons and ligaments would pull and I'd tear them. So magnesium has never been like a great match for me, and it would worsen my POTS symptoms that I had at the time. And now I just noticed that it was really upsetting my GI tract. So like magnesium like flushes things through Epsom salts. Like I've taken high levels of magnesium for a colonoscopy instead of taking the like whatever that drink is that they give you to take beforehand that had all the like dye and crap in it and flavorings and everything. Like I was so sensitive at that time. I was eating like 10 different food items. I definitely was going to take this like poison in this bottle to like clear out my GI for a colonoscopy. So instead I opted to, not medical advice, this is what I did. I opted to take high levels of magnesium to clear out my gut instead of drinking that. And oh my God, like magnesium really does that. So for me, the high levels of magnesium are not a match, but I know a lot of people who really thrive on that spring water in the city that I live in. So I do not fill up my spring water from there, needless to say. I tried it, but it didn't work for me. So yeah, I was just like, well, since I'm sitting here filling up all this water, I'll just kind of take you along with me here. Sorry about the noise of the washing machine, but it's like I got my water bottle in this guy to fill up, which this actually still has some water in it from last time I was here, which I didn't realize. I keep this in my car. I always have extra water in my car. I found this on one of the first times I went rafting. It was floating in the water, and there's a nice big Yeti container. So it was a river score, and I have used this constantly now. Wow, I did not realize I had this much water in there, but try to get fresh water as much as possible. So also, I can't remember if I mentioned that I contacted the camp host here to just see if I could come and fill the water, and I was like, I'd be happy to pay a fee, and she was just super sweet and was like, no, our water's free. Yeah, definitely come by and fill it up while you're in town. And spring water flows continuously, so like while the spring is flowing for however many years it flows for, like there's just constant water flowing, so it's just going back down into the earth. So I'm just driving by to grab it here because I didn't want to park in the middle of the road, but this is a tiny little one, so it's just driving down to grab it. Also, I'll give you a little view here of my adventure vehicle here as I fill up the water. So I took the seat out, the bottom here, and I just like keep my stuff under here. And my I can fill up my Camelback with the water here too. Look at that. So I just was spending the night in a yurt with my friend, and so I got all my stuff packed in here. But I stack my water here because as I drive through these very curves, it's gonna slosh and fly around everywhere. So I have to kind of stack it to where it's gonna fit nicely in here and not move around too much. So this bin here. And there's the finished product. Not super exciting, but on the journey I figured I'm gonna show you the whole experience. Maybe I'll even put a little footage of you driving out because it's just so beautiful in this area. Also, another thing is water purification, like having a gravity filter just to purify your water at home out of the city water is also like another option. If you don't have an option to get spring water or get spring water regularly, that is something that you can do, is get a gravity filter. I would be careful of buying filters on Amazon because the filters on Amazon for like the Berkey filters or the Pure Life filters, like I think it was 83% of them that were on there were actually like not from the companies themselves. They were like fraudulent water filters on there. So just be careful when doing that. And that was just, I guess, the last thing I wanted to say is, yeah, if you can't get spring water, like having like good filtered water is another good option. Well, I'm about to get back on the actual road now, so I will sign off. That's just kind of what I was doing here today. Take you along with me. Let me know if you have any questions or share anything about where you get your water from, or any little tidbits that other people might be interested in hearing from you about anything you know about water as well. Stay hydrated. Reach out to me if you have any questions. I do wellness coaching, and I'd love to talk to you if you're interested. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!